Welcome back to I'm Glad You're Here. Today's guest is Jennifer of Acu by Jen, a licensed acupuncturist in California and a face reader. I met Jen a few months ago when I was looking at topics to explore on I'm Glad You're Here, and I thought that acupuncture would be a really interesting holistic approach at our health. To be frank, I really did not know much about acupuncture, and when I first spoke to Jen about the concept of the podcast, I started to see just how deep this practice is. Not only that, but Jen focuses on facial acupuncture. And immediately it got me curious what that would be like, how it's different than the full body approach, and what this face reading element has to do with it all. This conversation with Jen is less about acupuncture in terms of technique and how it works and why it works. It's more a conversation on when we're connecting with our truest, most authentic self and getting more and more into alignment with our true essence. That is beauty. That is confidence. And owning who we are and adjusting to that is what Jen's mission is. Jen is not only passionate about what she does, she is so highly knowledgeable and skilled. And you'll see in this conversation, just from how she talks about face reading and elements that she gets to pick up in her clients, she goes deep. And what I love about it is someone can come to Jen for the kind of topical, surface level treatment of what they're working on, and she can see so clearly what they need and kind of give them the right medicine with acupuncture. She also uses gua sha and cupping and other Chinese medicine tools. I'm really, really excited to share this episode, and I hope you get a lot out of it. All right, let's get into it. So Jen, welcome to I'm Glad You're Here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you.
I know we'll have more, and so we won't cover everything, but it is such a pleasure to have you here and be able to share some of your magic and wisdom with us.
Thank you.
One of my kind of grounding questions will be, can you just give us a little intro into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Jennifer Ng. I am a licensed acupuncturist. I have been practicing for about 9 years now, and I specialize in facial acupuncture and gua sha. So I kind of delved into the practice because I was kind of forced to, but it just happened to be that I fell in love with the medicine because of all that it can do. And as you experienced with your treatments, and which is why I was like, if you want to learn about acupuncture, you have to come in. You have to give it a try, because what I do is not the same as what most acupuncturists do, because my vision on how to treat people is to really just help them feel most confident, empowered, and authentic to themselves. That's really what my purpose is in terms of every treatment I do. Everybody thinks that they kind of come to me to get like a nature's Botox or, like a natural facelift. But really, it's just so much more. It's understanding where your wrinkles come from. It's understanding why your body is reacting the way it does to stress and how that manifests on your face. It's about how your digestion or sleep or, anything else in your medical health can impact your skin. And that's where I kind of play a little detective work to find out what's really going on and how do we reset you to make you feel like the most original version of you.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. That's
Thank
so
you.
perfect to start. And wow, there's so many directions my mind wants to go right now. I want to start with this idea of beauty and kind of this concept of bringing people their authentic qualities. I wonder if we can start there. So you're working in facial acupuncture. I'm sure you have people that come to you that do say like, yeah, get rid of my crow's feet and make me look 10 years, 15 years younger. And how do you respond, or what is your process?
Yeah, so usually when people come in, they have an agenda of what they want to achieve for the treatment, what they want to address. So what if it is your crow's feet? But then the face reading aspect and the Chinese medicine aspect of it helps me diagnose you in a way where it's like, okay, what are these lines coming from? So then from there, I address it. I'm like, okay, well, this is basically what we're going to do. We're going to first explain what these lines mean. And I'm going to explain why it kind of happens in the first place. And if you want that to continue, then great. If you don't, then let's address it. Because something like crow's feet, for example, is actually one of the things I don't like to treat that often because they represent joy lines and sadness lines.
Mm.
And so, when your eyes crinkle, when you smile, there's a reason, there's like an emotion behind it. And if you want to continue that emotion or let that be expressed on the story of your face, then I think that's something beautiful. So I like to share my thoughts of what I think is beautiful first. And then, if they really have a problem with it, they really don't like it, they feel self-conscious about it, or if it prevents them from feeling like the most beautiful version of themselves, then yeah, I can put some needles there and plump it up and stimulate some collagen and smooth those wrinkles out, iron it out. Not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, I think we before getting into like the juiciest parts, I think we need to do some kind of primer on acupuncture and
Hmm.
how facial acupuncture is different than standard acupuncture.
Okay, yeah. So facial acupuncture is a little different because it's actually like there's no way to treat it in a way where it's not addressing the root of your problem. I like to think of it in one of the best ways to treat the root of the problem, to treat something that's manifesting on the face. That's kind of my approach to facial acupuncture. Now, this is a little different from what other facial acupuncturists do, though. Um, the difference is that when I do the treatments, the way that we were taught how to do facial acupuncture in school is very methodical. It's very like, okay, if you have X, Y, and Z, and this is what you want to address, then these are the points you do to prescribe it for. Uh, that's not the approach I like to take because, like I said, the reason why people get these wrinkles on their face or like acne on their face or all of these things in the first place is usually something more. There's more depth to it, and it's usually something that happens in your life. Like, for example, acne can come from stress eating. What are you snacking
Mhm.
on? Why are you constantly snacking? Is it for energy? Is it for to help mask something, or are you just really that hungry all the time? Is it a habit? So it's about diving in deeper to really understand what the true foundation is as to why you're doing these lifestyle habits. And that's where I use face reading. But with regular acupuncture, it's really just you take a look at the tongue, you take a look at the pulse, you take a look at the body, you tell them a little bit about your symptoms, and then you form a diagnosis and you treat based off of the pattern you see. I like to go like 3 steps deeper and just talk to somebody and get to really know them, and really try and figure out like what makes you you. Like, do you have a dog? Do you have a partner? What are the values you have in life? Are these things that contribute to things that are going on in your body systemically? So that's my approach.
Yeah, it's so clear that you're so depthful. Just even the conversation around acne, and you're like, is this the food that you're? How are you masking your symptoms and this? And it's
Yeah.
hard because facial acupuncture won't resolve what people are eating or the habits in their life. And so going back to that
Yeah.
kind of the quest with crow's feet, maybe it's yeah, I can help smooth those lines, but if you're still in an environment that is making you really depressed or feel defeated, it's not going to change.
Exactly. And it's about giving people that awareness. I think that a
Mm.
lot of things in life, when it comes to anyone's healing journey, is just bringing up awareness first. If you can become aware of what's going on in your body and why you're kind of tending towards certain habits or um, eating the way you do, sleeping the way you do, exercising the way you do, or lack of, what's the reason? There's got to be something more. And it's usually quite simple. And it's often overlooked with the simplicities of just, oh, like I'm just really busy. I work a lot. So then how can we use Chinese medicine to help make your life a little more proactive and productive for the things you value the most? And that's when I used, once again, face reading and five element theory
Hmm.
to kind of help me tap into that.
Yeah, I want to call out what's really cool here is how subtle the work is with acupuncture because it's these needles that are directing blood flow, right? It's
Yeah.
not some like surgical manipulation. It's not getting in there
No,
hacking at anything.
and that's actually the best part. One of my favorite things that I retained from learning acupuncture in school was 30% of the healing is us as acupuncturists. 70% of the healing is really from you, the patient. And the reason
Yeah.
why is because acupuncture simply is just increasing circulation. Simple as that. Increasing circulation, bringing down inflammation because of that. And you're just trying to smooth things out. It's almost like a little reset button. It's
Hmm.
about just making sure that things that are kind of stuck, we're kind of like playing engineer and like repairman and just trying to make sure that it flows again. And once it does, you'll be surprised at what your body is able to do. Our bodies are probably like the best machines, on this planet, right? Because there's so many different systems, there's so many different, um, you know, things inside our body that work in conjunction. It's just a matter of making sure that you're taking it from a holistic approach versus a singular approach.
Yeah, yeah. And what I was gonna say with this craft and with facial acupuncture specifically is the reason it's so different than these surgical procedures or, kind of even like tattooing eyebrows, lip plumping, like any kind of facial reconstructive thing that you can do. One, it's obviously different because it's non invasive, but two, it's this holistic approach. It's seeing the entire human and everything that they're kind of holding on to.
Right.
And that's the opposite of symptomatic of, oh, I just want plumpier lips. But something in our work was like the element type that I was presenting wasn't even authentic to me. I want to dive into that because I know I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we want these changes without having to do the work because we want instant gratification because it's easy and
Yeah.
why not? And just give it to me and let me call it a day. I just want to be the most beautiful version of myself without the effort.
Yeah. But
And
it's
facial
actually funny.
acupuncture, go ahead.
Yeah. It's actually funny though. I love how you brought up instant gratification because that was actually the thing that brought me to facial acupuncture as well. I
Mm.
I love instant gratification. And the reason why I love doing facial acupuncture is because you see results right away on the skin. Um, I think after our first treatment, you noticed a huge difference in the symmetry of the face already. And we only just
Hmm.
briefly mentioned that. But that's the cool thing about acupuncture, facial acupuncture in particular. We're not really doing anything to nitpick how to address the features of your face. We're really just addressing the skin. We're stimulating collagen. We're increasing circulation. And if your body is lacking the um, structure or it's lacking the plumpness or you need to chisel away and like create more of definition, it's naturally just going to do it on its own. Like people tell me like, oh no, like I like my face a little wider because I have a very small face. So don't sharpen me too much. And I'll be like, I can't. Your face is just going to naturally do what it's supposed to do. Or it's the opposite. It's like I'm pretty gaunt. Like I really want to plump my face. Like don't chisel too much. In that way is I really can't. Yeah, it's really just what your original face is going to present itself as. And that's what the treatment will do.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's I think maybe sometimes why it might not feel like such a huge difference is maybe we're so misaligned and sometimes it can feel like a crazy difference because
Yeah.
you're just coming back into yourself. And it's this reward, which I think you're saying, like that instant gratification, because you can see it so clearly. You're like, look at
Yeah,
that
it's
work we
very
did in 30
much,
minutes.
yeah, it's very much an observational medicine. And it's you can feel the results. Maybe not right away sometimes, like you said, but it's like something that builds up on it every single treatment.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder if we can use my treatment as an example of what
Hmm.
facial acupuncture is like. Um, we met up, and I know the first thing that I knew for myself was my face isn't really symmetrical.
Hmm.
And what I mean, even deeper than that, was one side feels puffier. For me, it was always hard to tell because when you take a picture and it gets flipped, I'm like, I don't know if it's left or right
Yeah.
side. But and you're like, and you can see it also clearly anyway. But I'm speaking for myself. Um, Something else I knew about my face is I had really like purple under eyes just
Hmm.
for a while. Um, and I also have acne scarring from like
Hmm.
10 years ago. Just
Yeah.
still kind of was sitting there. And so I'm curious, one, if you can share what the treatment plan was, and deeper than that, like what that was indicating in the body.
Yeah. So thank you for being open to sharing your case study, basically, because,
Yeah.
that's very vulnerable. It's very personal. And so, yeah. So basically, when I first saw your face, I first pay attention to everything that you say. I see what's in front of me and I take into um, consideration first the asymmetry. Why does it look asymmetrical to me? Okay, so for you, I noticed that the jaw area was where you had a lot more of the puffiness that you were describing, but the other side of your face was almost looking like almost like it was sallow or like gaunt, slightly gaunt in comparison. So to me, it was more so not really like it's puffy on that side. It's really just maybe there's some puffiness, but the other side is almost like it's hiding away. And that intuition and that feeling of
Mm.
that hiding away was what first instigated my first question to you during that time, which was, do you ever feel like you hold yourself back? I think that's one of the first things I
Mm.
asked you, emotionally, right? And we got into that and we talked a little bit about your history with mental health and a little bit about your upbringing and what made you kind of be the person you are today and what you went through. And that helped me kind of decipher that, okay, so then the area I really want to focus on is the slimmer side of your face to plump it up and even it out that way to match the other side of your face, which is the healthier side because according to face reading, there's a public side and a private side of the face. And the private side of the face was the one where I saw the growth, but it wasn't there matching the public side of your face just yet.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I
Wow,
saw
it
that.
feels so cool to go back into that moment, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm like reliving how cool it feels to be seen.
Yeah. And I think
Really
that's the coolest
fascinating.
part about facial acupuncture and face reading. When it's used together, you really just feel seen. You feel validated for the things that you notice on your face that some people might not notice. Like I've had other patients tell me before, like, I know there's something going on with my mouth. The way that it's pulling over here, it doesn't balance out with the other side. And everyone tells me they don't see it, but I do. And then I tell them, wait, I actually notice it too
Mm.
because I'm trained to be very observational and notice these very tiny, minute details. And I can validate the fact that, they have that insecurity, but then what can we do about that insecurity and transform it in a way where you feel confident and empowered and authentic to yourself, right? So, yeah, and that
Mm.
was like the first thing that hit me when I first saw you. And I knew that my first treatment was going to be a treatment to kind of unblock you emotionally because our emotions are actually far more pathogenic to our bodies than any external influence, whether it's physical trauma or pain, whatever it may be, could be getting sick. Nothing is as bad as a transformative effect of being like, oh, like I'm fine today. Today's like a 10 out of 10. All of a sudden you get hit with news that somebody passed away very near and dear to you. You get hit with grief. That type of
Mm.
instant shift in energy inside your body will quickly take your breath away, decrease
Wow.
circulation, increase inflammation without you having to move a muscle, right? Because
Um,
that's what the emotions can do. It can take you from that instant fight or flight response or rest and digest response and just transform instantaneously. So that's why I love working with the emotions, because especially for the face.
That's so powerful because just thinking of like the human experience and how you're saying the biggest shift in someone happens from another human interaction, whether you've lost something or someone and you've had a fight, you're missing someone, there's grief, there's tension, there's emotion. Wow,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah. And think about it. It's like when you're ridden with grief, for example, what's the first thing that happens? Your chest collapses on itself. And then what's the
Mm,
next thing that happens? You don't really breathe properly. Next thing you know, everything feels very stiff, especially probably in like the upper neck, upper back area, because your body can't hold itself upright. It can't stand tall. What person who's going
mm,
through grief can stand that tall naturally without faking it? And then fake energy that you're trying to project into your body, that's something too, that's it's like this bravado or this masking of something that shows in the face. And that's when a lot of asymmetry happens.
wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of
It's when you're
sense.
feeling one way and then you're acting another. Yeah. So it's almost like
Yeah,
you're
you're overcompensating.
exactly. Yeah, you're overcompensating for something that you think should appear a certain way. And that's why I think that, so many cases that come to me, a lot of it is just like breaking societal norms. That's what I try to do. I just try to break everyone's idea of like, what is beautiful, what's not beautiful, what's normal, what's not normal. And it's not really what society should tell you it should be. It's really just how does this hold true for you? And what are
Mm,
we going to do
I
about
love
it to
that.
make sure that it circulates, aligns with how you naturally go about life? Because once you stop doing that, that's when it affects your spirit. And
Mm.
that's mind, body, spirit in acupuncture.
Yeah, there's something that you just said that's reminding me of this. Like, what do you call it? The acupuncture high or like the meditative
Oh yeah,
acupuncture high?
yeah. The Acu High. Yeah, I call it the Acu High or like Acu
Acu
Nap.
high.
There's so many things that happen, but it's really just that like increase of serotonin that happens. It's just the euphoric feeling you get when everything is actually flowing and moving and nothing's really stuck.
Yeah, and I have to say, so I want to get back to the diagnosis and like what that approach looked like.
Hmm.
While we're talking about this Acu high, I do want to say for anyone listening that's afraid of needles or acupuncture, it's not painful. It is so not painful. So that shouldn't even really be a fear. But what was interesting for me is recognizing the points that really, really needed the needle. Almost
Hmm.
there's a tenderness, especially when they're
Yeah.
getting taken out. And it's almost like I made that recognition of like, whoa, my body really needed attention there. And I'd ask Jen
Yeah.
sometimes, like, what is that point? And you're like, oh, that's confidence or that's boundaries. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It doesn't want to
Yeah.
go.
And the thing is, I love how you mentioned that I said boundaries and confidence, but it's not so simple as that. It's not like a point here is going to boost your confidence. A point there is going to help boost your boundaries. It's really just what's the reason why you can't have boundaries? What
Mm,
is the cause? So, for example, with boundaries, we call it, it's almost like your body's inability to set, almost like your body's defense system. It's not strong enough. So then you let things go
mm,
easily or you slide easily. And then do you also tend to get sick easily? Yes. Do you also tend to feel like, your body gets run down and emotionally burnt out easily? Yes. So then there's points on the
mhm,
body that help with that in particular, according to certain meridians and channels. So, for example, like the pericardium is called the protector of the heart. So we do points on the pericardium channel to help strengthen your ability to hold boundaries because you're nourishing the channel that directly protects the spirit of the heart. Or if it's something where it's like
Wow.
every single organ has its unique function. So if it's confidence, for example, how do you feel when you are confident? You stand tall, you're able to present yourself a certain way, and when you don't feel confident, your body collapses on itself. Your voice is a little lower. So that's almost like a lung thing that, it's like the breath, your energy is not there. It can't meet a certain level of certain volume. And so we use observation, listening, sound, we use everything that we see, feel, observe, and it's all comes together to see like, okay, well, that's your lungs. We need to strengthen your lungs to be able to present itself to, and the chest be able to present itself to the world.
Can you speak to that, the different organs and like how they come into play here?
Yeah, so each organ is associated with certain emotions and certain functions in the body. For example, something that most people probably wouldn't think about is like the small intestine. It's in charge of filtering the clear and the turbid, as we say in Chinese medicine. So, for example, in terms of digestion, it's saying like, okay, yeah, these are nutrients. I need that. Or, yeah, that's waste. I don't need that. So we're going to send that to the large intestine. We're going to send that to the kidneys. We're
Mhm.
going to send that somewhere where we don't need it right now. My job is just to make sure that I can say this is clear and this is turbid. Turbid meaning, murky or unnecessary, wasteful, things that we don't need. And so
This is so
when
symbolic.
there's,
Wow.
yeah, everything is like a metaphor or symbolism in Chinese medicine, and it's very, very literal. So then there's also the brain gut connection, right? So if your mind is feeling like you can't filter and sort through things, it becomes overwhelmed easily. It's almost like there's so much information that you get like a food coma in your brain. Then you're not going to be able, you're going to notice that, all of a sudden you're feeling pretty bloated. And that maybe during the time of the small intestine, which is usually around like 1 to 3 p.m., like maybe you start getting a little sleepy during that time because your body's digestive system is just shot. It just doesn't have energy to continue because it's just completely overwhelmed. So that's when you start saying, okay, well, is there anything I need to shift mentally or physically? And usually, if you address one or the other, it will help nourish the other point. So if you're mentally overwhelmed,
Mm.
treat yourself like you're sick, Don't eat such a big, heavy meal and overstuff yourself. It's only going to make you feel more brain fog. Or if you're overstuffed,
Mm.
like don't overwhelm yourself emotionally. You're just going to feel even worse, right? So you want to make sure that you have that balance. And that's kind of the approach I take in terms of like what I see in the body, what your symptoms are presenting as, and how to address it to make sure that it clears up in the face. And then let's just talk about how that would also manifest in the face. So the small intestine area is also kind of like around the forehead area too. And so if you have a lot of murkiness, turbidity that's stuck in the body, all the toxin buildup, things are not clearing your system, you're going to get acne there.
Mm.
And so that's how I use face mapping to see what's going on with acne. And there's just so many different diagnostic methods that comes with face reading, that comes with acupuncture, that allows me to just take a look at your face and know what's going on internally. Because once I understand what goes on internally, we can make those slight differences. Like, for example, like the dark circles too. What's causing the dark circles, right? Is it sleep? Is it blood stagnation? Is it something more? So my brain is always in a place where it's like, okay,
Investigative.
investigating, detective work, filtering and
It's
sorting
so
through
cool.
all of these things that it could be, but what's presenting itself in front of me. And that's one of the cool things about acupuncture too. It's just what's in front of me. What are you presenting with right now? Not what was in the
Mhm.
past, not what you think is in the future. It's just what are you presenting with right now? This is what we're going to treat right now.
Yeah, because it's about getting back now, not to what you once were or think you need for later. It's who are you
Correct.
really and how do we
Yeah,
let that come through?
right.
Okay, let's go back to my 3 sessions and kind of the general flow of like how we treated these different things, because I think that will really show and speak to what facial acupuncture is and
Hmm.
how we also used other needles in the body, and it isn't just the face, and it's kind of this
Right.
whole overview, and I'm super open, so and I love everything you've shared so far. I think it's really helpful. So I'm
Thank
down. So
you.
don't worry about sharing anything personal from me.
Okay, thanks. So going back to your three treatments, yeah, the first treatment, it was really about just unblocking that emotional setback. A lot of it was just trying to help you build up that confidence, feel like you can set better, firmer boundaries because it's almost like you didn't have energy at all whatsoever. And that's kind of what causes
Hmm.
like that dark circle appearance when it has that purple tinge. Um, there's not enough blood flow going to the face. The complexion you had was a little more on the gray side, which is usually like, okay, this is all kidney related things. Kidney is associated with sleep, it's associated with the menstrual cycle, it's associated with the emotion of fear and anxiety. So when those are posing as possibilities, my approach was, okay, so let's go straight to the kidney channel. Let's go straight to the paired organs that it goes to, which is the heart, bladder, and also sometimes the stomach. And so we use points all along those channels in the body with those points to balance out asymmetrical things or imbalanced things that were going on, that were appearing on your face. And then that was like my approach to your first treatment in terms of like what I wanted to achieve from the treatment. And I knew that, that's the groundwork. So the body acupuncture is really just the groundwork of what is going to support the long-lasting results of the facial acupuncture. Because honestly, if you wanted to
Mm.
just treat the face, you could just put needles in the face and you'll address those things temporarily. But if you want long-lasting results and, you know, something that really can hold, you have to address everything that's underlying in order to be able to make it last. So that's why my treatments are not like 2 sessions a week. It's a session every other week because I want your body to get a chance to adapt to the changes that are going on with the body acupuncture, not the facial acupuncture. Because the facial acupuncture is stimulating collagen. It is increasing circulation. It is, bringing more strength and tonicity to the skin. But if you want it to hold, you have to do the body points to make it last.
Yeah, that makes so much sense with me with everything you've said about how the face is just the manifestation of symptoms. And so
Yeah.
if we're dealing with the foundation is the body, and it will take the body a couple weeks to adjust to its tuning because there's
Hmm.
so many systems and organs at play. The face is just the face with blood flow that we can just stimulate and get excited and have rosy cheeks and call it a day. So
Yeah.
I love that kind of concept of, okay, we're getting the machine to work so that it starts printing out what we want to see on the face. And we're not worried about the face as much as we are getting the body attuned.
Yeah, exactly. And even sometimes I tend to tell people, like facial acupuncture is the face is really just a beneficial side effect. All the shifts in the face, all the shifts in your skin, like the beauty aspect, the aesthetic aspect, it's all just a nice side effect to what I do with the body. It's about
Yeah.
regulating inside your body internally first, making sure that everything is flowing smoothly, everything is balanced out, because without balance, you can't see that luster in the skin. You can't see the brightness, that quality, that lit from within type of glow that you can achieve only with things that manipulate the skin from a touch level. It's not going to happen with injections. It's not going to happen with lasers. It's not going to happen with facelifts because you're not working with the body on a level where it's increasing circulation to the face in a way where it's that like lit from within, like your eyes shine brightly or your color is coming through the cheeks in a
Mm.
certain way. There's no way to achieve it any other way. It's just you have to be happy. You have to be emotionally balance. You have to have proper circulation within your system. Otherwise, it's going to be like, yeah, your skin looks smooth. Yeah, your skin looks like it's probably at the age of 25, but it still has something. That's something that I always notice with people who do like Botox fillers or like a lot of different lasers. It's like there's something missing that's making them appear youthful. And
Yeah.
it's their spirit, right? It's their
Mm.
ability to say like I feel good.
Wow. You know what I'm thinking? It's like the definition of beauty is feeling whole, mind, body, spirit.
Yes, precisely. And that's what acupuncture is about. It's all about tending to the mind, the body, and the spirit. Now, the spirit is something interesting because I know that it's something that people throw out very often. It almost feels like something that's like esoteric and it's something that can only be achieved through a spiritual practice. But really,
Mhm.
that's not what it is. So I've been trying to think about a way to describe the spirit for a while now, and I feel like I'm finally getting to it. And your spirit is affected when you're not living life accordingly to the way you truly believe. So, for
Mm.
example, you are somebody who really loves to take care of someone, but you're put in a position at work where you're constantly putting people down. How is that aligning with yourself? You're going against yourself. You're emitting fake energy out. You're emitting, it's like you feel held back. And that feeling of being held back is dampening your spirit. Now, shift that to somebody who's following their passions, right? They're in a job that they're very happy to be in. You see it right away. They could have terrible skin, but they actually look like they're glowing. Why? It's because they're pursuing their passions. Their spirit is clear, it's happy, it's balanced and calm, right? So
Wow.
it's not about
Wow.
having that balance in terms of like, oh yeah, like spiritually, I feel connected with the outer world, the universe, God, whatever it may be. It's not about that. It's
Mhm.
not that kind of spirit. It's the spirit, it's like the spirit of an animal, you know, when you see a dog that's old and sick, but they're still wagging their tail, they're still there, that's their
Yeah.
spirit. That's not, that's something that we have to see and evaluate within ourselves to be like, okay, is this aligning? Something doesn't feel right. That's why you're always feeling burnt down. That's why you don't want to talk to people. That's why like social gatherings probably make you feel exhausted because you're constantly putting your energy in ways where it just doesn't align with how you believe. Maybe you're in a toxic family. Maybe you're in a toxic relationship. All the gaslighting that happens out there. It really takes a larger toll on the body than anything else. People don't
Mhm.
get the chance to explore that as often as they would like. And so that's why acupuncture is great because it forces you to do that. Because I pin you to the table and you can't do anything but like rest and think.
You know what's so cool right now is this shift in our conversation is you are so in alignment with what you were saying. Your spirit is so excited to share this information in this way. And what I think you're saying that I want to kind of say again is there's this term spiritual bypassing that I never fully understood until this very moment, which
Mm,
is kind of this excuse that like the human experience isn't real. I'm really a spirit and therefore whatever. Like this is just
yeah,
kind of the matrix and I get to like go
yeah,
play in the astral field and I can take my medicines and go be somewhere else. And what I
yeah.
love that you're saying is your spirit is actually your guide for alignment on earth.
Yeah, it's almost like your intuition, it's your intention, it's your authenticity to yourself. That's
Yeah.
really what it's about. It's not about like tapping into something, it's about looking inward. And yes, there are things that can help you get there in terms of looking inward. Maybe it's therapy, maybe it's psychedelics, maybe it's acupuncture, maybe it's something else. But if you really think about all these like spiritual practices, right, it's all about turning inward, looking at
Yeah.
yourself, being in front of that mirror and saying, do I like what I see? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? And am I aligning with
Mm.
something that holds true to me? Yes or no? And of course, like, I feel like anybody who goes into any type of healing practice has gone through a journey themselves. And that was my
Mhm.
experience. It was really just like, okay, I see where I'm headed and I don't like it. So what am I going to do about it? And I had to make many, many shifts within myself in order to get there. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I like what I see. I like the direction that I'm going in. And I think that I am practicing what I'm preaching. So it feels fulfilling. There's a fulfilling, purposeful aspect to it that I feel like you can only achieve when you do that turning inward spiritual type of practice.
Wow. I'm so deeply inspired. I and I love that you said like, oh, you could do therapy, psychedelics, acupuncture, whatever. For me, I'm becoming more and more passionate about the psychedelic space and I'm training to be a
Yeah.
therapist and I really want to find a way to work with psychedelics and a big hesitancy of mine has been you really step into a deep spiritual space with
Yeah.
psychedelics. You're removed from human kind of emotions and barriers, and you can see things in a very kind of clear way, and you can
Yeah.
make new connections, and there's a lot of beautiful things with it. But what's really challenging with psychedelics is the integration. Is now that you're back in your human body and you have all these amazing downloads and realizations of what you can do and who you want to be and who you are, now
Hmm.
you have to do it as a human. And
Yeah. And
that
that's the
is
work
the
process, right? That's
crash.
where everybody
Yeah.
tends to be a little held back. And so that's where I found acupuncture to be really helpful. It's that realization of what your capability is, but then how do you help yourself get there without crashing and burning every time that you try? Right. And that's what acupuncture is about. It's about restoring balance. It's almost like a little reset button of when you build those stagnations within your body, things that hold you back, things that make you feel like you can't do something. It can give you a moment to reflect, rest, and really recover your body in a way where it's like, oh no, yeah, no, I can do this. Like
Yeah.
there is a little more energy now. I do have a little more clarity now, right? My body is moving in a way, it's resting in a way where it's allowing me to go into that again. It's not
Yeah.
about like a one fix type of thing. It's actually not even like a linear type of healing. You're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days, and it's all about making sure that it balances out. And so acupuncture is great because it's like, even though you're on an upward journey, it's like, no, sometimes you have to get worse in order to get better too. So some treatments you might feel worse, some treatments you might feel better, but it's always a manifestation of something that your body requires at that moment in time. And then you'll
Mm.
feel it like after you get that moment where you feel worse, you feel better. It's like a huge like
Mhm.
weight off of your shoulders.
Yeah. And what's cool about the work you do, I'm gonna like break it into a couple chunks. One, there's the process of being witnessed by you.
Hmm.
You show up and it's like, oh, someone sees me, someone get, oh my God, my emotional bound, this, oh my God, like, yes, that's
Yeah.
me. Then the second part is this physical connection to the work. You are receiving
Yeah.
needles on your body, your face, you're lying there, and you enter this meditation and you get to actually feel what it's like to adjust once your body is flowing and just it doesn't
Yeah.
have to think, it just gets told how to flow and it gets to kind of resonate there and adjust. And then you get to eventually see the physical changes that manifest because of it. But it's also that internal shift. After my second session, I felt like I had so much energy. The color that came, remember how my face turned really tan? That was really cool. You're
Yeah.
like, that's your natural skin color.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about in the beginning about like this like grayish hue. And it's not really gray. It's like a paleness, but like that pale when you feel like you saw a ghost.
Hmm.
It's not your true color, right? So like once you bring the circulation back, your skin tone starts to match the rest of your body. And you're like, oh wait, no, I'm actually quite tan.
I was so tan. Oh my gosh. And it
Yeah,
was right before I got engaged too. And it was amazing because I just knew
I
going into my second
know. That was
session
so
that I was going
great.
to have a huge adjustment because I saw the before and after picture after our first treatment and I didn't even realize how pale I looked. And
Hmm.
I'm say this in like the most compassionate way towards myself, but I looked kind of half dead. I did not look
Yeah.
like I had life in my face at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. And that's kind of something that I saw too. It was almost like this lifelessness of like your body is just doing the motions to get by. It's not really living in a way where it's because there's just no blood flow to the face. There's
Mm.
something lacking. And so when you see that type of pallor, you say, okay, well, I need to move this blood. I need to get the energy boosted. We call it moving chi and blood, tonifying chi and blood in the body. And it's all about making sure that your body just has the resources. It's just a matter of making sure it gets to you in the areas it actually needs
Oh,
it.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's why I love working with acupuncture. In fact, I'm also trained in herbs too. But I find that the body is able to do so much with acupuncture already that oftentimes you don't really need herbs as long as you have like a good acupuncture protocol. Because your body really does have all the resources. There's blood, there's energy, there's fluids, and as long as they're moving to the right areas, they're circulating, there really shouldn't be a problem. And so usually like puffiness, for example, is due to fluid stagnation, fluid getting stuck in a certain area because it's not getting to where it's supposed to be. And what happens when fluid is stuck and not getting to somewhere else? Something else dries up, right? So now you have dryness and puff and like extra fluid somewhere. So it's this imbalance. And all we're doing is just making sure that it's smooth, that it's circulating. And then once that happens, it naturally brings down inflammation. That's the coolest part. You really don't need to do much. It's so simple. This practice is so simple.
It's crazy because, yes, it's so simple. As humans, we way overcomplicate it, right?
hmm
And
Practitioners too, though. Like as a practitioner, I did that in the beginning. Overcomplicated all of these patients, case studies, whatever. It took a while for me to realize, like, oh, it's actually really quite simple. At the end of the day, it's all about circulation. As long as you have circulation, you're in the clear.
it's so beautiful. It's so simple. And I
Yeah,
love the metaphors and the simplicity. And we're talking about the small intestine. And it's like, is this clear? Is this unclear? I keep what's clear. I get rid of the rest. It's a very like
yeah.
a yes, no binary decision.
It's a very simple thing. And, there's obviously many more organs that we didn't talk about. And there's a lot more functions of these organs that we didn't talk about. But at the end of the day, it's really just everything has a system, everything has a job. As long as you're able to make sure that that organ can do that job, you're fine. And that's also the reason why we talk a lot about nature in Chinese medicine, because all of these are associated with a specific season. They're all associated with a specific direction, taste, smell,
Mhm.
element, direction. Like there's so many different things that are associated with it. And if you align yourself with nature, something as simple as eating seasonal foods, for example, can do so much to your body versus eating things that are out of season. So it's a lifestyle thing too. So it's all about being in congruence with the way that nature flows and yin and yang flows too.
I'm glad you brought the nature part back up because whatever we were saying earlier, I was thinking, I think I remember when I was talking about kind of the process and your body adjusting, like that's also
hmm
nature. Like nothing grows in one day. Like you evolve and you get different
Exactly.
soil and sunlight and this and different seasons. You respond
hmm
differently to the changes that are happening. So I think acupuncture is a nice reminder of how evolutionary we are, how all we can really commit to is change and that we're constantly
Yeah, it's
changing.
all
And
about making sure that the adaptation to change is smooth.
yeah, I love that. It's a guide, it's an assistance. But again, like your
Yeah.
body is so intuitive that with the right direction of like the world's tiniest needles in your body, it can figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the tiniest little thing. I don't even call them needles most of the time. I call them little pins or like little reminders. Because I remember there was one time I was doing a career day thing for kids in third grade. And they're like, what does acupuncture do? I'm like, I use needles or like little reminders to tell your body, hey, there's something wrong here. We just need to fix it. And then you're good. You're just headed in the direction of healing, of making sure that it's smooth. Getting to the place where it is smooth requires something extreme because maybe what you went through was very extreme. Maybe you got COVID. That's something extreme. So now you got to come at
Yeah.
it with something a little more extreme to help mitigate it. And again, it can be emotional too.
It's everything. Yeah. Mind,
hmm
body, spirit. And
hmm
I love that little reminders for a very physically sensational process. You have just these like little pings. It's kind of another metaphor in and of itself of like what the work
Yeah.
is. They're reminders. They're not anything your body can't do. It's just been maybe masked or taken on a lot of emotional weight or
Yeah.
disappointment or misalignment with your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually what it is. A lot of it is misalignment. Yeah. And that's all what acupuncture aims to do is just to restore that balance and harmony within the body itself.
I'm curious to kind of finish with my case study, if you will.
hmm
We did the facial symmetry. we worked on, I think it was the liver, was like my under eye and kind
Oh,
of
kidney and liver.
like the
Yeah.
darkness of the kidney and
hmm
liver,
hmm
and the acne scarring as well. We did like 2 sessions on that.
Yeah. So the acne scarring is something a little different. So things where it deals with your complexion, discoloration, that's usually more internal. But acne scarring, that's something that is an external appearance that doesn't
Hmm.
change naturally from within. But if you think about scarring, it's really just adhesions. The skin in that area became all knotted up, forming a scar or a pick, ice pick type of appearance. And so what I do is I use the needle to break up the adhesions and just kind of break it down. It's almost like when you have a big knot and you want to just like dig something in there to like loosen it up, shake it up. That's all I do.
Hmm.
I just put the needle in to break up the scar, and then we do gua sha or cupping afterwards to help smooth it out. Because scars don't actually get proper blood circulation to the skin area because of all the knots and adhesions. And so after breaking it up, smooth it out, it loosens up, it allows for more blood flow to the area, and then it smooths out naturally, very easily. I think microneedling is probably the closest thing you're going to get that's similar. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're just working with the level of the skin that boosts collagen too. So that's why it also can break things up and encourage better tonicity in the skin, better health of the skin, because you're working with the layers, every layer. It's not just one layer of the skin. It's not just the surface level. It's deeper. It's also the muscle layer. It's also the fascia layer. You know, there's so many different layers that we can use to help address the different skin ailments you have.
Wow. I feel so inspired by the way that you talk about acupuncture and facial acupuncture and the depth that you've gone even deeper into with face reading as like just this
hmm
extra tool to get there more efficiently and more like just
Yeah.
comprehensively. And
hmm
it's almost like I think we need to do another conversation on face reading and
Yeah, it's funny. Face reading, I originally studied with facial acupuncture to learn what the skin can tell me, like the face can tell me as a diagnostic method. But it's also funny because then I could see when people were lying or like not talking truthfully about certain things too. So it actually does make it a lot more efficient. I like the word you used. It really is just to make the treatment a lot more efficient and not going just simply
I
based off of
love
what people
that.
say. It's really just like, this is what's presenting in you right now.
I love that.
hmm
You just reminded me how I think often how I do these interviews with such incredible healers and people that are just so deep into their crafts and I'm like, wow, I'm really opening myself because I know this person can see the hell out of me. Like I can't
Yeah.
hide here.
It's like your vulnerability and your willingness to share your story with others can help so many. Right. I think we need to take a
Oh,
moment to appreciate that too, because that's something that not many people are willing to do. And that's something that when people hear other people's story, I really think that that's where their own version of healing can begin as well. Because if you can hear something that happens to you is happening to another person, you just don't feel alone anymore.
wow. Jen, thank you. That's so
You're welcome.
sweet.
You deserve that.
You're awesome. I'm such a fan. I am such a fan. You're doing such
Likewise.
incredible things. I want to ask your dream world. What's the future of your work? Are people coming to you like, I just want to be my authentic self? Or how do you see it kind of playing out?
So this is funny because I think this changes every time I think about it. So currently, my view on it is just my first goal in terms of facial acupuncture and how people see it is to see it as the true way of preventing all the skin ailments, wrinkles, aging, whatever of the skin. I think that people are brainwashed into thinking that things like Botox, harsh lasers, harsh peels are really the only way you can go in order to address aging skin. And it's clearly not the case. Like if you want true prevention, go get facial acupuncture, do a facial massage, go get a facial because these are things that actually can benefit the circulation of the skin, increase the health of the skin, and make sure that like everything in the body can attest to it as well. That's like my first goal is just to get people to
Mhm.
see it as the true version of prevention and try to stray away from things like Botox and fillers, because I think that's just the biggest brainwashing thing that people learned was that Botox is prevention, and it's really not. It's really, really
Mm.
not.
I'm surprised people think Botox is prevention.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. People call it like baby Botox. They call it like, there's so many different words for it, but they think it's prevention, and it's not. It's really just a band-aid that doesn't do
Yeah.
any healing whatsoever, and you're just masking and masking and masking, then it's not like it works.
In my mind, it like freezes.
Yeah,
Yeah, isn't
it
it
freezes
about
the
like,
area, but it's not
yeah.
completely frozen. That's the problem. It wears off, right? And as it wears off, you're still going to do the same actions. You're still going to do the same motions that create the wrinkle. But now
Oh,
you're
but I
like,
see what you're saying. You're saying people think that because it's frozen, it's not moving, so it'll
yeah, so
stay
then
just the
it's
same.
preventing that way. Yeah, so it should stay the same. But that's not the
Oh.
case because once it wears off, and it will continuously wear off, it's not like it's just frozen the whole entire time. It wears off, we're beginning like 3 weeks. It starts to fade. And your body, because you don't feel it, you might even do the action a little stronger each time, which only makes it worse. Now, I'm not against
Hmm.
Botox, by the way. I'm not against all these like different laser treatments or whatever. In fact, I would probably like to get it myself one day if I really feel like I need it. I think that, Botox can be nice if you're going to an event and you want something to look a little smoother, just for that moment in time. But just don't think of it as prevention or the only treatment because it's really not. That's my goal with facial acupuncture. The second goal I've realized is that I just want people to know what it is. Facial acupuncture is just a completely holistic approach to treating your skin. It's about really bringing yourself to the awareness of what's on with my body, allowing you to have that intuitive, introspective type of natural ability, something that a lot of people don't do. They don't check in with themselves very easily. And it's just an opportunity to check in with yourself, see why these things are happening, and then now you could go get facial acupuncture to address it. It's a modality. It's just something in your toolbox that you can
Yeah.
actually use. It's because a lot of people feel defeated when they're like, well, I tried everything and nothing works. I still have this hormonal acne, or I still have this wrinkle that just won't go away. But if you treat it early on, you can really prevent it. You can really address it.
Mm.
And it's not just about prevention, it's about addressing it first from like the root cause of the problem. And yes, like there are limitations though, right? Like I'm not going to give you the face you had when you were 20 if you are now 50 or 40 even, but I can make it look less. I can make it align with where you are in
Mhm.
your life right now, given your resources. If you have already gone through menopause, for example, you can't expect the health and quality of your skin to mimic the way it was back when you were 30. You just can't because your body now is at a repletion, right? You just don't have the same amount of collagen and estrogen and your body's ability to have the same amount of energy and blood flow as you did before. You can't. You can't expect that. But what we can do is make you look like the best version of yourself during that moment in time, which is really nice. And it can be really hot.
Mm.
Like you don't have to look like
Yeah.
you're super wrinkly and disheveled. You can look like the best version of you during that time.
I think that this is, or my dream with you is that this is the shift in our beauty standard, that we are the most ourselves with the resources that we have. That rather than
Yes.
being 50 and trying to look 30, we're 50
Yes.
and we're feeling the best that we possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just making sure that that beauty standard shifts. That's why I keep saying like everything is really not just like I don't blame anybody for things.
Mhm.
Everything that happens in our lives, yes, there can be somebody who initiated something or can be a certain event that triggered something, but really it's a standard. It's a societal standard that we need to break down, especially as women, because women have it rough. There's always something wrong with
Mm.
us. There's always something that we need to address. There's always something that we need to buy or do or fix in order to feel like half a version of ourselves. No, that's
Mm.
not what it's about. Facial acupuncture, everything that I do is just making sure that you understand who you are according to your unique self, not according to what other people are like, because every single person and every single person's experience is unique. But it's about making sure that you understand this is who I am. This is what living authentically to myself looks like. This is what my best health looks like. And I'm going to own that and I'm going to appreciate the beauty that comes out of it. And I'm going to be able to see the transformative results that facial acupuncture can do with it. And I want to be happy
Mm.
and I want to feel confident in my skin. That's like the true goal that I want people to see is just to like shift that beauty standard to making it this is the standard that I should have for myself, which is comes from a feeling of peace, not
Yeah.
expectation, but peace.
Oh, okay. I got it. You know what it
Yeah.
is? It's dismantling beauty trends and standards and instead shifting to internal confidence, internal trust, that internal light, whatever that word
Yeah.
is, but it's dismantling the trends. Cause you know what I'm thinking of that, and I would love for you to walk us through the eyebrow trend of like women in the
Oh,
90s
yeah.
to now, because I think that will paint what we're talking about really well.
Oh my God, yes. And I remember bringing this up to you with the face reading because if you ever take a look at the beauty trends of eyebrows throughout the years, it is drastically different every year. And when we talk about face reading, the eyebrows represent a feeling of it represents your ability to be assertive. It represents confidence, and it also is usually seen in how people adapt to you. It's almost like a vibe that you give off, basically. So the thicker the brow, the more wood energy you have, we say. And there's five elements in Chinese face reading, but I'll just briefly just talk about what each aspect of the brow refers to. So if you have really thick brows, it can be a little intimidating because it's very assertive energy. If you have hairs that stick up, it represents confidence. If you have eyebrow hairs that stick down, it's almost like a lack of confidence. And then if it's a thinner brow, it's almost like we call it the courtesan brow, where it's a very approachable, very friendly eyebrow. And the way that it arches also influences like decision making. And so people with a very straight
Wow.
brow can't make a decision for the life of them. People with a very strong arch in their brow are very decisive people. And people who have like
Interesting.
a
Wow,
very natural point to the tail end of their eyebrow work really hard towards their passions. And this is without eyebrow tweezing or anything or shaping or anything like that. It just naturally comes to a point.
Mhm.
They work hard towards their passions. There's so many things you could see from just somebody's eyebrows. But if you look at the trends, it actually kind of aligns with women's empowerment throughout the ages. So like in the 90s, plucked out all your eyebrow hairs and you draw them in as like a nice little curve, very friendly appearing, taking away your power. And it's almost like you can't make a decision for yourself. People were telling people what to do. Then you move on to like the 2000s. Oh my God, all of a sudden like the later stages, it thickened up. Oh my God, now you have like the Cara Delevingne era where the eyebrows are super strong, super fluffy, super fierce. And think about that point in time where like
What about the bleached? There's the bleached eyebrows.
yeah, bleached eyebrows came after that, after 2020, when all of a sudden, like, women's rights were
Mm.
starting to be stripped away. Now it's like, you're there, you have the brow, but they're bleached. You can't see them anymore. There's no say anymore. You don't have rights anymore. You have no power anymore. But you're still fighting from deep down inside because they are still there, but
It's like misguided.
it's misguided. Yeah. And it's so
Yeah.
fascinating to see the trends of like how it shifts through time. And now it's like, it's all about the natural look, right? So now people are like, man, screw all this woman empowerment thing, screw this whole like women rights taken away thing. Like, I just want to be me. And I love the direction that's moving in
Mhm.
because now we're kind of like going into what we were just talking about before about embracing your natural beauty. And now the trend is just like bare face look, not too much makeup, that I don't even remember what the trend is called, but it's like this natural beauty that shines through. It's like people are really just viewing them, taking you for who you are. You know, there's nothing they're trying to add or like convince you to be something else. It's really just you are who you are. And I love that trend the most because it's
Yeah.
embracing everyone's natural beauty.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm not the best with trend spotting, so I can't speak to what it's called, but I I'm 27, and when I was in 8th grade, so whatever, I don't know, 15 so years ago, I'd watch all these YouTube makeup tutorials. I never wore
Oh
makeup, but I was
yeah.
like obsessed. I don't know where I got it from, but it was fun.
Hmm.
And smoky eyes were such a thing, like this dark and sultry and just kind of
Mysterious,
like covering
sultry.
up the whole eye. And it looked so
Yeah.
dark. And I'm just thinking about that right now because I'm like, I would not see anyone outside with a smoky eye right now. Like it's natural,
Hmm.
it's light, it's maybe a little like shiny, or maybe there's like a little bit of purple or something, but it's not black. It's like people have like black
Yeah.
eyes watching those
Yeah.
videos. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating to see like what features people want to have stand out, right? And is it the lips?
Mm.
Are the lips like a big thing now? No, it was like a maybe like 5 years ago. Like big, fluffy, plump lips. And that was a very earthy time. It's all about like the idea of gathering community after having like a loss of it after 2020. You know, like there's just so many trends that happen.
Yeah.
But it really does interestingly reflect how face reading reads things. And that's why I think that face reading can be very powerful because you can see what people value at that moment in time.
Mm. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And so
powerful.
that's why I also think that like I don't like the idea of doing too much cosmetic surgery. I think that some things can be very beneficial to people, but it does mask, like it does change like the way people interpret you. And it does change almost like the destiny on your face because there is a little bit of like
Wow.
destiny stuff with face reading too. But yeah, it's really, really interesting. And that's why like when people tell me like all these things they want to work on their face, like I have to check in with them. I have to check in with myself, like, are these things happening because of body dysmorphia? Or are these actual problems I need to address? So that's when I just check in. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
yes, I do see what you're saying, or no, I don't see what you're saying. And that's when I go, okay, then if there is, an aspect where it's like, I don't see what you're saying, then that's when I have to say, as a medical practitioner, like, these are the things that I'm seeing, and I don't see what you're
Mhm.
talking about. But I don't think that that's not true, that you don't see that, that you see that. I think that we just need to really work on your trust with your body at this moment in time. So then maybe I'll do points to help kind of do spirit points on the body to really help them feel like
Mm.
they're less emotionally burnt out from the things that they see in themselves, the negative talk, basically.
Yeah. And they're more committed to getting in alignment and
Right, right.
understanding
It's
who
all
they are
about
rather than trying to
understanding,
see what they see outside.
precisely.
Wow. Well, I could go on forever. And I think that if you're down, we should have more conversations
Yeah, I'm
once we
definitely
once we
down.
hear what people want to hear about too.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of close, I want you to tell me your experience with the acupuncture after you finish the 3 sessions. Because the way that I like to do treatments is for people who are like under the age of 35, basically. Depending on your skin condition, I like to do like a minimum of 3 treatments to make sure that your body is shifting and your skin is shifting in the way that I see is, healing and getting better or like looking better. But yeah, tell me about your experience because I'm always curious. I don't sometimes I don't get to see people after like their 3 to 6 sessions, you know? So I'm curious. How are you
True.
feeling now?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Well, fired
No, you
up.
look great.
Thank you. It's something I do want to kind of like maintenance wise be able to
Hmm.
do because it's just so incredible. How I felt during it, I remember that first session, my skin tone, and yes, my facial symmetry. But for me, I was almost like scared, shocked with my skin tone looking so
Hmm.
drained going into that session. I just had no idea. So all of a sudden, I had a lot of awareness. That was like a really
Yeah.
powerful kind of momentum for the following two sessions. So then I show up to the second session and I'm like, I know I'm going to change. Let's go. And in my personal life, so much was changing. I knew I was
Yeah.
getting engaged soon, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I made sure that we met for acupuncture before I went on this trip because I really
Hmm.
wanted to feel myself, which I feel like just
Yeah.
speaks to this practice overall. I'm like, I need to make sure that this happens before I go because I want to be the most myself I can possibly be. I know there's a big momentous occasion and I don't want to be so like thrown around with societal expectations of what it's supposed to feel like. I just want to feel myself and I want to be there with the person I love and just experience it. And
Yes.
so you gifted that to me and that was incredible. And that's the one I walked out of like, whoa, I'm tan in the face too. That's crazy. And I had such childlike energy and it was incredible. And the third session really felt a lot less shocking than the second one. It was a lot more like
Yeah.
reinforcement. And we were talking a
Yeah.
lot that session, like really
Yeah.
just that was like emotionally deep.
Yeah. The way I like to approach the treatments is the first treatment, I kind of go easy on you. I just treat what I see. Whatever you tell me you want to work on, I'll just do it just to make you happy. But just know, I let people know like the next time around, it's going to be a little more. So next time around, it's a little more. Then we get to dive into like more of like the health stuff, more of the spiritual stuff, more of the emotional stuff. And then by the third session, it's really solidifying everything
Yeah.
and just making sure that like, are you moving in the trajectory that we intended to? Yes or no? If yes, then great. We'll continue the treatment based off of that. If not, then we have to keep doing more. But for you, I saw like it was very clear. You made like huge shifts in both of the sessions that we did, and your skin
It's so
really
crazy.
showed up for it. So yeah, it was really cool to see the transformation on your skin. The interesting part too is that like not many people will notice it from a picture because so much of it is
Hmm.
just the way that you shine as a person. And I think that's something that can't be captured in pictures. So when I was doing the before and afters, I was like, man, like that's why I don't really like doing before and afters because you can't capture the justice it does. But it really was a transformation on you, and I was
But
really
there is
happy.
something what I see in the very first photo and the very last photo. So, like the before
Hmm.
of the first session and the after of the third session, I know how different I feel. And I
Hmm.
think that jump, like my face shape is totally different at that point. My
Yeah,
tan is there, and I'm like really, really glowing. And I wouldn't even be able to acknowledge it. That's how like these subtle shifts happen, right? Like I wouldn't have
it's
said that
the
I didn't
little
feel
things.
confident. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said I didn't feel confident walking in the first time, but I'll tell you by the third time, and sure, yes, we're getting to know each other and I know where I am. I'm not lost, but just the kind of conversation and how just easily and naturally it was flowing. And
Yeah.
I felt so not different. I felt so me. And
Yes,
that was
that's what
really
it's
cool.
coming down to. That's what it's all
And that's
about.
why
It's just
I was
making
like
you feel
high out of my
you.
mind. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so myself right now. It's like, woo, crazy. I can be myself in any situation. That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's wonderful because it's like when you have that awareness and you realize like, oh, this is me, then you're like, okay, now I kind of feel a high from this. It's like, oh, now I want to be me all the time. What do I need to do in terms of
Hmm.
lifestyle, diet, sleep habits? What do I need to do in order to feel the most me all the time?
You know what? You just said it and I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that. But the amount of changes I've made since that third session of
Hmm.
like noticing my sleep, eating a lot cleaner. I'm doing a whole like gut cleanse thing right now, like really
Hmm.
committed to that reinforcement of being in alignment with
Yeah.
myself.
And that's the reinforcement part of the body acupuncture that I keep mentioning, right? Because we mentioned things about your diet, we mentioned things about your sleep patterns and things about
Mhm.
your exercises, right? So when you have that, it's like planting the seed, right? Like if you have the awareness of this is what's going on and these are the things that I need to address in my own body in terms of my physical health, then everything just follows naturally. You don't even need to come back and have somebody tell you like, oh, you need to eat this, you need to eat that. You're naturally just going to try and do it yourself. Whether or not it's right for you is another thing. But
Yeah.
for your like body type or your constitution, whatever. But, at least there's that motivation, there's that inertia of the action towards
Yeah.
your healing journey, right? But you can't really get there sometimes unless
Absolutely.
somebody else says it. Sometimes if like somebody close to you says it, you don't really hear it either. It's really not until you get that like
Oh,
third
totally.
party thing where it's just like, oh yeah, that's something I need to address right now.
Like if a stranger is telling me this and they can see
hmm
that hits different than your partner or your parent telling you that. It sounds
Oh
like a
yeah,
nagging voice versus, whoa, something needs
100%.
to change.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like to get so deep in my sessions because it's just like, well, you're clearly trying to do better. So let me just give you the tools to help you in the best way I know how.
Yeah, like my body felt so good that I am willing to find the ways to reinforce that. Like my motivation is coming from how good it feels to feel good in myself. And I'm
Yeah.
not even thinking like aesthetically when I'm saying any of this, like
Yeah.
physically, energetically, and like
hmm
socially, just how I
And this
show
is why
up, what I'm
acupuncture can be
thinking.
life-changing for a lot of people. For anything, like it could just be life-changing if like all of a sudden you've been in pain and chronic pain for forever, and then all of a sudden that's mitigated and you're feeling okay and you feel like you can move around, that's life-changing, right? But the way that I approach it is just you just come at me and you tell me anything that's on your mind, anything that bothers you, I will take it into accord because I want you to feel validated for the things that you feel. I want to address the things that you want to
Mm,
prioritize for yourself. After that, yes, we'll adjust the face. Yes, we'll adjust the digestion, sleep, whatever. But if you feel like there's something holding you back, we have to get rid of that first. That's why the first
yeah.
session, I'm like, okay, you feel like this is the problem, I'll address it. No problem. But then it's
And
follow-up
then we're
ones that I'm
going
just like,
in.
okay, but let's dive a little deeper here.
It's like, let me earn your trust. Let me show you
Exactly.
that it works and ease your discomfort or ease your mind.
Right.
Now that we have trust, let's go in there.
Yeah, it's about building that patient rapport for me too. So it's like I need patients to trust me in order to help them heal the best and feel the best. So it's like I said, like acupuncture really is only 30% of your journey. So a lot of it has to build from you feeling like you.
Such a humble remark for like all this passion of acupuncture. It's like, but you're the majority of the work.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for this,
You're welcome.
for your
And
passion,
I'm
for,
yeah. No, I mean this is absolutely amazing being able to talk about facial acupuncture this way because the way that we're taught in school, it's like, oh yeah, you're stimulating collagen, you're working on your fine lines, you're bringing down the acne, you're breaking up scars. It's very superficial, but I love being able to show people that it's just so much more. It's there's so many levels you can achieve with it. It's not just the aesthetic level, it's the internal spiritual level too that needs to be addressed in order to get the best results for facial acupuncture. And I hope that more facial acupuncturists can have this insight and this viewpoint with their treatments moving forward because it's honestly just not the way we were taught in school. We were taught it in a way where it's very superficial. Yes, holistic, but still
mm,
superficial.
yeah, you're making me feel like I was about to use the word lucky, but I'm going to stick with fortunate. I'm very fortunate that you're the
Yeah.
person that I found and reached out to because I'm like, I'm
Thank
all about
you.
depth. And I had no idea, really. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that I met you and that I got to experience this. I know we would have had a great conversation regardless, but
hmm hmm
being able to have witnessed it and to get this kind of conversation out of it where we can get to kind of this beauty standard. And I know that's been your mission since we first met, was
Yeah.
articulating why it's not about looking hot per se,
Yeah.
And it took this whole journey together to get there. So
Yeah. And I'm like, I
I just
don't
feel
know
so
how
good
to
about it.
articulate this. I only know how to show it. And I only really feel like I can do it. The best way to articulate it is just through experiencing my work. That's why I was like, you
Hmm.
have to come in. I have
But
to show you.
you did
Yeah.
express it, and I did experience it.
Yeah.
But we did it.
But it's
I
just
think we
so
did
much
it.
more. And thank you. I think we did. I think that, your experience and my, deep, deep thoughts of all of the things that I've been trying to articulate for all this time, I think it's finally getting to a point where I can articulate it a little better. But I really want to thank you for this opportunity. This has been
Oh my God.
a dream of mine, basically, to just like get this across to a bigger audience. And this is going to be awesome. Thank you. You are amazing. Thank you.
I'm I'm so excited to I know there's a lot in store for you here with this paradigm beauty shift. And I think that
Hmm.
you're one of those that are leading the way, and you already have like all of that kind of in you ahead of the trend.
Oh,
So
thank you.
it's just going to really
That really
flourish.
means a lot
And
to me.
oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm so in support, and I can't wait. And I'm so here for it. So it's going to be incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much.
Ah, of course, of course. Well, I will talk to you soon, and we'll pause
Yeah.
here.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Bye.